Hello everyone. Today we are going to learn our next project, which is going to talk a lot about layers, and that is our BLT sandwich project. This project, I'm going to provide you with the layers that you're going to be using. They are a background layer, which is the tabletop that I have here, a plate, as well as the bread, the bacon, the lettuce, and the tomato. So we are literally going to be making a BLT sandwich using this program. So with this is the final project, what it's going to look like. Your final project, however, can have additional things. You can have a soda, you can put on a pickle spear, you can put it in a bag of chips, whatever you want in order to do a little extra in this project in order to get a better grade. If you just do the bare minimal, you're just going to get the bare minimum grade. So the first thing we need to do is we need to download your images from Google Classroom. In order to do so, you need to open up the images individually. Go to the top right-hand corner, hit the three little dots, and it'll give you an option to open in new window. After you open the image in a new window, it'll then give you the option to download the file right across the top of the actual image. If you're confused on that, just ask me in class and I'll show you how. Once you downloaded all the images, so you can see I have a folder right here with all the BLT sandwich files. The first thing you're going to want to do is obviously open the tabletop, because in our scenario that we have going on here, we need to put a tabletop down, so this way we can put the plate down and then the rest of the materials for the BLT. So the first thing is I'm going to either go to File, Open in Affinity, and then open up the tabletop that way, or I can just click and drag the image and drop it into Affinity Photo, and you'll get this. The next thing is I want to place all the images into Affinity on top of this file. So we go to Place, and then we go to where our files are. So here's mine. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add the plate. So I need to do that individually. We're going to notice that the plate should appear much larger than the background. We can change the size of that one of two ways. We grab the Move tool, we find the corner, we grab an edge, and we just make it smaller and we move it until it finally is small enough to fit on our screen. You can fill the whole thing. I chose to just give myself a little bit of an extra area, and I made mine a little bit smaller. So that's number one. That's about the same size. After that, I'm going to now clean up this image. To clean up the image, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of this extra area around it. I can do one of two things. I can grab my freehand lasso tool, go all the way around the whole entire thing very carefully, invert my selection, and hit delete just like I have done in past projects, but that would take way too long. The next thing I can do is I can grab this brush selection tool, and I can literally click and drag this right around the outside, and notice how that starts selecting that background, snapping right to the edge of the plate. And then when I hit delete, you'll notice that, oh, it accidentally goes away, even though I only have this little bit selected. When that happens, what you need to do is you need to go up to Layer, Rasterize, and that will allow you now to, when you hit delete, to select or delete away that extra area. Otherwise, if you don't rasterize the image, it's just going to keep deleting the whole thing, and you're going to drive yourself nuts. So I'm going to keep selecting this whole entire thing, get all the way around to the whole edge of the entire plate, get rid of all of it, and clean it up. If you get too much with this, just like I did there, I'm going to have to go back before I hit delete. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Notice that I deleted or selected a little bit too much of the background because it got some of the plate. I'm going to hit Subtract, which is up here in the mode. And I'm just going to run that along there, and it's just going to clean that up for me. You're going to do this until you clean up the image completely, and then you're going to do that with all of your layers. You can see right here I have a folder full of layers. I actually have a ton of bacon because, let's face it, it's not a BLT sandwich unless you have a ton of bacon on it. So I'm going to hide some of these layers so you can see just basically one of each of them. Sorry about that. Okay, so I have one piece of bread, one piece of lettuce, one piece of bacon showing. The lettuce, you're probably going to need to change the size of it. So just know that you can grab the corner, move it in and out. You can also grab this little ball and change any direction that you want the lettuce to be. Notice my bacon sitting there in the background. The nice thing is if you grab one piece of bacon, duplicate it, move it just a little bit, and rotate it, and then that next one, just again hit Command J. Notice that now it's moving the bacon and rotating it as I add them. So I can get a ton of bacon if I want to, and it'll just keep rotating it automatically for me. Okay, that's called a jitter. So basically, the program says, hey, this person looks like they want to repeat that as much as possible. Because of that, we're going to keep repeating that move of position and rotation. Because it's doing that, I'm actually going to delete these out since I have already done that. That'll allow you to add a bunch of pieces of bacon and have them change size, orientation, and we want that bacon to be hanging off the edge. So this way we can actually see it. So this way it looks like there's actual bacon on our BLT sandwich. I also love a bunch of tomato, so I'm going to add a couple pieces of tomatoes. And then, obviously, a sandwich isn't complete without a second piece of bread, and I'm going to put that on top. Now, after you have all those files created, so you can see how many files that is created, but this nice little thing that I have here is called a group. When you create a group, what that does is it stacks all of them together, and now I can manipulate just all of these letters all in one motion. It will also allow us to add effects to it, just like I've already actually done, which is that drop shadow that's around it, which I'm going to show you in a second how to do that. To add things into a group, there's one of two ways. You create the group and then just click and drag them over, or we can highlight all of our images. So I'm going to grab this top piece of bread. I'm going to come all the way down to the bottom piece of bread. I'm going to hold Shift and click on the bread. Notice it selects all of those images at one time. You hit group, and they get all into one same group. I named it final, so this way I knew when I did this video which layer it would be. Now we want to add a drop shadow on the outside of our sandwich. Okay, so I'm going to grab the FX button, which is right down here in our layers panel. We want to click the checkbox for outer shadow, and then basically you mess with the radius, offset, and the angle until they match. Now I have to add one more comment here. Notice that the two pieces of bread, I moved them so this way the top piece of bread was slightly to the right and above the other piece. It's important because notice the perspective that we learn or we see from the side of this piece of bread here. I want to mimic that for the top, and I want to show that there's some space and distance between these two pieces of bread, so it looks like the rest of the stuff is sitting inside of it. With that, our drop shadow is also going to mimic that. So since I kind of see this, I kind of want to keep that angle that is from here to here. So that being said, I want to mimic that, so around 225. The radius, again, that just depends on how fuzzy you want your shadow to be. I find because it's all these different layers and the sandwich is supposed to be taller, it should create a fuzzier shadow because there's more distance between the stuff hanging off and the plate. So there should be a larger distance. Then there should be an offset. So this way it determines the amount of distance that there is between the sandwich itself and the actual shadow. All right. Then I'm going to add one more, and I'm going to add it to the plate. So this way, it creates a nice sharp edge. The reason being is the plate's going to be a lot closer a lot closer distance between the plate and the tabletop than there would be in the top of the bread down to the bottom of the plate to create that. As I said, to add some extra things to this project, you're going to add things like soda, chips, whatever you want to do in order to make this more realistic and more personal so it's not a cookie cutter project. If you have any questions, let me know. Have fun.